All right, you should be all set.
Okay. I'd like to call the meeting of the Boone County Industrial Development Agency Governance Committee meeting to order. First order of business is to review the minutes from our February 21, 2024 meeting. The minutes have been sent out to all committee members who've had an opportunity to review them, suggest any revisions. There were none, so we'll accept the minute meetings into the record. Item number 3 on the agenda is an opportunity for public comment. Anyone wishing to speak on any matter concerning the IDA may do so at this point. Please state your name, address for the record, and limit your comments to 5 minutes. I see no one wishing to take the opportunity to address the IDA, so we will move on. Item 4 on the agenda is a review discussion authorizing the executive director on behalf of the agency to renew the agency's contract with Hugh for digital account services from March 1, 2024 to February 28, 2027.
I'm going to turn that over to Amy Williamson.
All right, so as you may be familiar, we are required to do a RFP for our creative services every 3 years. So 2024 is when we needed to do it again. So we issued our RFP at the beginning of this year and selected, once again, Rieger and Hugh. We actually only received 3 submissions this time around. It was Rieger, Hugh, and Grey Goose Graphics. Grey Goose Graphics does actually, typically their business model, do retainer work. They do more so project by project basis. So for our retainer purposes, which is our ad placement and our creative services, this first one is for Hugh, which is our creative and design services. That's who won that portion of the award. So those who will be creating our annual report once again, our brochures, our advertisements that we run. So those have been, historically very well received and very well liked. So we decided to move forward with them again to once again continue having that consistency within our brand. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about the next one until we get.
Just one question on that. Does this contract amount vary substantially from what it was?
No.
Okay.
No, so our retainer amount is the same exact amount that it was for the last 3 years.
No change.
No change, $1,500 a month.
Can't say that about many services.
For all 3 years.
So the $1,500 a month will be for all 3 years. For Hugh Rieger, the rates will have the potential to change slightly, but that's because they're on the ad buying side. So that's why there's a little bit shift in their yearly rates.
Yeah, and of course, if we request a change in scope with Hugh,
right,
there could be modifications, but that's the base.
Okay, now you can talk about Rieger.
Great. So kind of the same points. So Rieger has been the amount has actually reduced this year because we have reduced the amount of funds that we have given them to place ads, to do some more stuff in-house and kind of finalize some of this branding surrounding our larger partnership with the Greater Binghamton Chamber of Commerce. So we don't anticipate running ads on the LDC side until maybe at the end of Q2 this year when we have all of that partnership branding wrapped up. So that amount has actually reduced from what we would pay them monthly last year. Like I said, it's a 3-year contract. Once again, Rieger is the only one where it'll change slightly because depending on how much money we give them to purchase ads, that increases the amount of work they'll have to do if they have to place more ads. So that's the only world in which their monthly retainer will go up.
Okay. And just to be clear, that is item number 5.
Yes.
Review and discussion recommendation authorizing the executive director on behalf of the agency to renew the agency's contract with Rieger Marketing Communications for digital account services from March 1, 2024 to February 28, 2027. That said, are there any questions for Amy on either item 4 or 5?
Just a quick question, Amy. You mentioned the Leadership Alliance and the Chamber of Commerce.
Yes.
Is this an area where we do have some commonality and are getting sort of the benefit of scope?
Yes, absolutely.
Working with the Chamber?
So the Chamber is actually funding a portion of this advertising
How about
budget
the providers?
for Leadership Alliance.
Does the Chamber also use Rieger and Hugh?
They use Hugh for certain events and Rieger for certain events. So the Chamber uses Hugh.
Chamber spreads.
They spread their love a little bit more.
We don't typically do retained agreements except for IdeaCraft, who manages our website, a few other things.
Sure.
But we try outside of that. we try to spread that around and work with
Mhm.
different members.
This is actually, I believe, the first year that they're doing a formal project contract with Rieger to do a lot of creative stuff through the talent leadership arm. Hugh has always been the design firm for the Bridge Run, which is a huge contract for them. So they get some of that benefit as well, but not through what we pay. They contract separately. So the only benefit they would receive through the partnership with what we pay is when we place ads and do the creative work surrounding the Leadership Alliance partnership.
Okay. So I guess, do you feel we get any benefit of scale, knowing that?
I do,
We're
yeah,
part
I
of the
do,
Leadership
and we're working on sort of tweaking, we're gonna maybe tweak some of the branding with the Leadership Alliance, and I think that's why you're gonna see a pause on some of the ad dollar spend. You know, to more of a shared quality of life messaging, similar to what we were doing with the Good Life. So that's in process in development. I will note, one thing worth noting is one of the ways we've funded some of this advertising dollars is with the support of NYSEG's Economic Development Opportunity Outreach Program. They have notified us, which was an executive level decision above our locals, that they are pausing any grants this year. So that does put a hole in our overall marketing budget, which we're looking to fill with some additional resources. So that's why we also decided to pause any ad spend until we figure that out.
Okay, so when you pause the ad spend, it not only reduces this service, it reduces the 94,000 of actual buy that you have today, right?
Yes,
Yes.
potentially will. And that's, I should say, when we say pause, that's more of the shared, the Good Life stuff.
Right.
The agency ad buys, we do keep running
Yep.
because they're connected to our loan programs, our services.
Right.
So we do keep those running throughout the year.
Okay.
But we use, we pay for those right out of our business development budget.
Any other questions for Amy or Stacy? Okay, if not, with regard to item number 4, which I've already read, which is for Hugh, can we have a motion?
So moved.
Thank
So we
you. Peter, second. As our chairman would say, let's vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carries. Item number 5, which was review discussion of the recommendation with regard to Rieger that I have also previously read. Can we have a motion? Mike, second, Peter, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay, or none, no nays, no opposed, and no abstentions.
I get to read this nice long.
Okay. All of them are long, actually.
I know.
3 are long, okay. Item number 6 on our agenda is a review, discussion, recommendation, authorizing a lease-back transaction to facilitate the demolition, redevelopment, renovation, development, and equipping of the YWCA Lyle Carroll Intergenerational Campus, including the Young Wonders Child Care Center with 68 apartments for low-income, multi-family, and supporting housing to include 2 elevators, 1 in the apartment building and 1 in the child care center, community rooms, a laundry room, a reception area, a lobby, conference room, a mail room, staff offices, 3 outdoor playgrounds, and a terrace garden to be located at 20 Lyle Avenue, 22 Lyle Avenue, 24 Lyle Avenue, 34 Lyle Avenue, and 45 Carroll Street, all in the city of Binghamton, Broome County, New York, appointing the Young Women's Christian Association of Binghamton and Broome County, New York, the company, agent of the agency for the purpose of developing, redeveloping, renovating, and equipping the project, and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain documents with respect thereto, including a payment in lieu of tax agreement, a sales and use tax exemption agreement in the amount not to exceed $1,865,302.00, a mortgage tax exemption in the amount not to exceed $247,500, and a real property tax exemption in amount not to exceed $933,935.
Yeah, you said.
Up to 74, excuse me. The second to last line should read a mortgage tax exemption in amount not to exceed $274,500 and a real property exemption in amount not to exceed $900,935. 993, 93. That'll be a lot easier. Before we, any questions, Stacy, want to give us an overview?
Sure, since a lot of the project description itself is in everything Jim got to read, I'm gonna just focus on a few of the project dynamics, and I think, Lillian, I may put you on a spot just to give us a quick update. Lillian Levy and Megan Kringa representing the project are here, in person. So just a reminder on some of the project dynamics, for this, what we think is a tremendously needed project in the city of Binghamton. Your total project costs on this are $36,023,263. Total exemptions provided are $3,133,737. So, you know, I want to take a moment to turn, you know, our attention to our cost benefit analysis, because we include this, but I think it's always worth highlighting. Total state benefits to state and region are over the life of this pilot are expected to be close to $54 million. So a tremendous benefit, 15-1 is what we estimate. A tremendous benefit to the region, to the local taxing entities, and for the community from a service perspective. From a job perspective, over the 3 years that we traditionally monitor, as far as compliance in those first 3 years, total payroll is expected to be 2.3 million. Construction jobs payroll of over 13 million over a 3-year period, with 118 construction jobs being created through this project. Now, one thing that I think is important to note, but does not preclude the board from acting today, is this project is being considered for low-income housing tax credits through the state's Homes and Community Renewal Agency. Unfortunately, it did not receive those was not awarded that funding in this round. But again, it does not preclude the board from approving the pilot benefit, which is a requirement of the project. Lillian, I'm guessing the project will be resubmitted in the next round.
It will be, and as you know, we're having a conference call with everyone to find out why they didn't pick us, because we did the bill so perfectly.
Yeah.
But again, it's $6 million out of a $36 million project. We have local groups that are willing to contribute money, and foundations that will contribute money are waiting for us to get all the financing in place. We already have lenders that are working with us on the financing and, of course, on the tax credits. So were we disappointed? Yes, but it's not stopping the project.
Thank you.
Great.
Lillian.
When's the next round going to be?
I think it's fall.
Yeah,
Fall.
but we're not gonna be in the
September.
round till next year anyways.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so I think it wouldn't be till
I think
2025.
it's the fall.
Yeah,
Next spring that we start building, yeah.
yes.
Will you increase your amount because construction costs will inevitably go
I think I'm not the engineer or the architect, I know they have figured some of those possible increases in their budgets. And also we're getting a lot of goodwill from local suppliers and contractors as far as what they're charging us, so.
So your amount will stay the same?
It will stay the same.
Okay.
I mean, I've been a real estate attorney for 40 years. I say that, I can't promise that, because we all know. I can't control all that, but that's our thesis anyway.
Prices certainly go up in a year, I'm sure.
Yeah,
No doubt about that. Any other?
but hopefully interest rates will come down, so that might.
Help
Yeah,
offset.
don't bet on that either.
Peter, any other follow-up questions?
No, I'm just, M&T is listed in the application as the primary bank for the YWCA. We've not been asked to provide any financing for this particular project, but I'll abstain just to be very conservative.
Okay. Any more questions?
No.
We have a,
With that abstention, we would
Don't
move
have
it
a
to
full-
full board.
so we will hold that over for the full board. Item number 7 on our agenda is nearly as long as item number 6. Item number 7 concerns a review, discussion, recommendation authorizing a leaseback transaction to facilitate the rehabilitation, preservation, and equipping of a of 22 three-story brick garden-style apartment buildings located at 380 Shenango Street and 3 Fern Street in the city of Binghamton, Broome County, New York, to be used as affordable housing complex in the city of Binghamton, Broome County, New York, to include 66 one-bedroom apartments, 169 two-bedroom apartments, 21 three-bedroom apartments, and 296 parking spaces, appointing V.E. Binghamton LP, the company, agent of the agency for the purpose of rehabilitating, preserving, and equipping the project, and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain documents with respect thereto, including payment in lieu of tax agreement deviating from the agency's uniform tax exemption policy, a sales and use tax agreement in amount not to exceed 3156394.00, and a mortgage tax exemption in amount not to exceed 86800.00, and a real property tax exemption in amount not to exceed 1023365.00.
Okay.
Stacy?
Yes, so I should note on the previous project as well as this project up for consideration today for approval. Public hearing was held for both of these projects on March 13th at the Broome County Public Library. Transcripts should have been provided in advance. I think we had other than project representation, we had 0 attendees, so the transcript was not very long. But on this project, however, we do have Tim Henze, and is Renee with the project now?
Yes.
Okay, and Renee Franco associated with VE Properties. If there are any questions directly for them, but just for a refresher, and again, I think a lot of the details in the project are in the resolution. But I do want to just go through a few of the project dynamics. This is a $66.3 million project to renovate multiple units at the Town and Country Apartments located on the city's north side. These properties have been substantially neglected, is I think a conservative word. So this project will preserve 256 units of affordable housing. 98 of the 256 units are restricted by a HAP contract, which places certainly limitations on how high rents can go, while the remaining 159 will be leased to low to moderate households, restricted at 60% or lower of area median income. I do want to remind the committee, this project does show an actual decrease in the starting point for the calculation of the pilot. And that is because we use the 10% of sheltered rent as our baseline for creating our pilot schedules. We did confer and discuss this with Mayor Cram because of the importance in getting these properties renovated, especially for the residents. He feels very strongly that this is not an obstacle to the project and has requested we consider moving forward despite that reduction. This also is considered a deviation because of the term, and as we always try to remind with affordable housing projects, the term is often determined by the financing instrument. So this request is for a 35-year pilot. This project has already received approval from Homes and Community Renewal for low-income housing tax credits. So the next step besides approval of the pilot would be for the state to close with VE Properties and close, assuming with us. So again, I have Tim Henze and Renee Franco, if there's any direct questions for them or any questions for me.
So on the economic analysis, it's
Yeah,
4-to-1,
thank you.
excluding the tax credits and excluding the ARPA money.
No.
That is all inclusive of all funding sources.
Okay,
Yes.
including the ARPA 3 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so total benefits to state and region on this project for a total, well, I should say the total benefit is 55,746,044 over the life of the pilot,
Right.
for an exemption of 13,476,851.
Right.
So a 4-to-1 benefits, I should note construction jobs and professional jobs on this. The project will create 7.5 full-time jobs with a total payroll over 3 years of 942,355. Construction jobs are expected to be approximately 215 jobs with a $19.5 million annual payroll over a 3-year period. So significant infusion of payroll on this project.
Okay,
Great.
questions?
The local, labor force is more than able to handle the jobs specifically required for this project
The 200.
without having to go outside the area.
I would assume so.
Okay.
Yeah. Amongst the different trades, I would assume so.
Peter, any questions?
I do not have any questions. Good project. It'll be nice
Oh.
to see this back on track.
Agreed. That being the case, hey, we have a motion.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Peter.
Second.
Second with Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Abstentions? None. Motion carries. Last item, second to last item on our agenda, review and discussion recommendation accepting an application from Archuska Productions LLC authorizing a New York State and local sales tax and use exemption in amount not to exceed $18,376 for a term not to exceed 12 months, consistent with the policies of the agency in connection with the expansion, renovation, and equipping of vacant space at 49 Court Street in the city of Binghamton, county of Broome, and state of New York.
Okay, so this application comes to us from Marchuska Productions. We had previously approved a sales tax exemption program for the same property for the fitting out of space for Ramble engineering firm that is located in Binghamton office. Similarly, this project requests an exemption, sales tax exemption for the continued renovation of this, I think, Center City property. It includes the expansion of vacant space that will be utilized by Morabito Holdings, Inc., and renovation of vacant space that will be leased by Barton and LaJudas. I always say that wrong, John. LaJudas. All right, I got that right this time. LaJudas, another, also an engineering firm who will have a location in Binghamton. So the total project costs that are subject to New York State sales tax are $229,700. Of that, the 8% value of eligible goods would be $18,376. Questions?
No question.
We have a motion.
So move.
Mike,
Happy to second it.
Peter, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Probably not, since there's only 3 of us. Motion carries. We'll bring it to the full board. Last item on our agenda is adjournment. Anybody object?
No.
Okay, we're adjourned.
Okay. So now,
Good morning. I would like to call to order the Broome County Industrial Development Agency and Broome County Local Development Corporation Combination Audit and Finance Committee meeting. The first item on the agenda is to accept the minutes of the November 29th, 2023 Audit and Finance Committee meeting. The minutes were sent out to the committee members and any recommendations were sent. And so we would like to submit those for the record. Next is the public comment session of the committee meeting. If anyone wishes to address the committee, please state your name and limit your comments to 5 minutes. Hearing none, seeing none, we'll move to the first order of new business. Number 4, a review and discussion recommendation of the 2023 audit of the Broome County Industrial Development Agency and the Broome County Local Development Corporation conducted by Insero and Company, CPAS LLP. Stacy, please.
Yes, so as you know, as a requirement of public authorities, by the Public Authorities Office of New York State, we are required to have complete and approved by the board our fiscal year audit for 2023 in this situation. Once again, we've had the great pleasure to work with Insero, who will be presenting that just in a few moments for both the IDA and the Local Development Corporation. I wanted to thank all of the staff for their time and attention to this, especially Gina Paw, who did a great job on this. Meanwhile, dealing with a broken ankle and doing this remotely. So she had a lot of challenges, but I want to thank her for her hard work on this. So with that, I will turn it over to Evan and or Rita. I think Evan, we're going to start with you.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you all very much for having us here this morning now. I'm Evan Cleveland, audit partner with Insero & Company CPAs, here to present the results of the 2023 audit. I'm going to work mostly off of the executive summaries, try to talk about the top documents, and then we're on the IDA then. On the first page of the executive summary, we're issuing a modified opinion on the financial statements. So that's otherwise known as a clean opinion. Best opinion you can get, means your assets, liabilities, net assets, or net position, revenues and expenses are all fairly stated in all material respects. We also perform an audit under government auditing standards, and that report has also an unmodified opinion and no instances of internal control weaknesses or anything to communicate associated with that part of the audit. We also issue a management comment letter that is mostly boilerplate language, just describes and defines deficiencies in internal controls, and we have nothing to report in that letter. So the next page, we're required to communicate to those charged with governance at the planning stages and the conclusion of the audit. And these are the certain things that we're required to communicate. We do so through a specific letter that I won't go to. We have no comments of concern associated with anything listed here. The only thing that I'll point out is qualitative aspects of accounting practices. The IDA adopted ASB 96, was subscription-based information technology arrangements. That was a new one this year. It had no effect on the financial statements. And then I will turn it over to you for many pages.
Thank you. On page 4, we have just a pie chart of the revenues for the IDA, so you can see it year to year. The biggest change you'll see is in 2022, your fee income was 81%, and in 2023, it was 43%. So there were changes during the year. Can you speak to that? So that really is related to the fees, especially the Spark JC fees and Canopy.
Yeah, so we restated the 2022 balances based on there was a payment plan associated with Spark JC LLC. So that got pulled back into 2022, and that was a little over $1 million. And then during the year, the payments for Canopy Growth, so there was one large one for $393,900, and that was pulled out of the receivable. So it was recorded in revenue initially, but needed to be applied against the receivable. So revenue was recognized back in 2019 or 18.
So it's a timing issue?
Yeah.
They're always big on timing, you know.
Yeah.
That drives you crazy.
On page 5, you have the pie charts of the expenses. Not too many big changes. I mean, your salaries and benefits did decrease from last year. Other expenses kind of increased. The biggest is there is the bad debt expense in 2023 related to the loans that are expected to be written off in 2024.
Is this the first time we've done it? I didn't see it in the previous years, right?
The bad debt
Yeah.
expense, correct.
Yeah, so
So
there were
every year.
4 loans that have been outstanding and aging for years, and we ask
Okay.
about it every year. And this was the year that we're finally, we're gonna write it off in
Okay.
24, so we establish the allowance in 23.
And those were mostly associated with our emergency loan programs that were provided during COVID, so I guess I'd say we knew there was some inherent risk with many of them. There were only a few that, of all, I think we ended up doing 10 to 12 loans and only
20.
Did we did 20?
21 actually.
Okay, I stand corrected. So overall a good program, but we did have a few that just weren't able to pay us back.
So on page 6, we take a look at the assets and liabilities. It is the top, the assets are very small, sorry, but we look at 5 years worth. But from 22 to 23, your assets did decrease about 691,000 or 2.8%. And that's really due to the payments that you received based on the amortization schedules for the loans and notes receivable, offset by the increase in accounts receivable. Your total liabilities increased about 196,000 or 67%, and that's really due to the increase in accounts payable based on timing of when invoices are received and paid during the year. On page 7, takes a look at your net position. So total net position decreased approximately 887,000. That's really based on the operations during the year, the adjustments we had to do for the revenues.
The canopy payment, the bad debt, yeah.
On page 8, we take a look at the revenues. So your total revenues decreased about $260,000 or just over 18.5%. And that's due to significant changes in the fee income, as we had stated, for projects being closed, but it's offset by the increases in investment income. So last year there was an investment loss. You have the investment income this year, and you have a gain on sale of assets compared to historically a loss on sale of assets. Page 9 takes a look at the expenses. Your expenses increased $591,000 or just over 41%. And again, that's really due to that significant increase in the bad debt expense of the $288,000 and increases in the capital expenditures for ongoing project work during the year.
That's mostly related to our efforts with the potential development park.
And page 10 goes over, as Evan had mentioned, the agency implemented GASB 96 during the year. There was no material effect on the statements. And the future accounting standard that's upcoming is GASB statement number 101, compensated absences, is effective for the year ending December 31st, 2024.
Any questions on the audit results or any of the numbers before we jump into the main financial report and take a look at a few of them?
I'm not sure if it's now or later, but just if you could elaborate on that restatement.
Sure. So there was a payment plan that was entered into with Start GC LLC, and we pulled $954,000 into 2022 based on the payment plan. So the entirety of the fee was a little over $1 million, and they pay a specific amount annually. So you earn the funds in 22, therefore we established the receivable and recognize all the revenue in 22.
This is related to Oakdale Commons, so larger fees we have occasionally spread out.
So we were previously accounting for it as more like an installment payment.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
So within the main financial report, I was going to turn to the footnotes. Now I'm going to skip way ahead to page 13. It's a little over halfway through. So note 5 of the top details your loans receivable. Within the Steve loans, you see the allowance for uncollectible. So that was the establishment of the allowance for all these uncollectible loans for $288,000. So you establish the allowance this year and then you write them off next year. So we've already affected the financial statements with expenses during 2023. Note 7 is the notes receivable. So the second item, Spark JC LLC, this is the installment payment plan where you earned all the revenue in 22. So it's between $100,000 to $54,000 annually through 2033, and that balance was $954,000 at the end of December 23. Page 15 details your capital assets. So you had about $6.5 million invested in capital assets at the end of 23, added 21,000 in capital additions, and depreciated items 145,000. So a net reduction of 124,000 during 2023. And the next page, note 13, has a bunch of things that are highlighted. So we're still waiting on a few things associated with the pilots and employment information. It's really how it goes historically for all of the IDAs we work with. A lot of businesses and individuals do take a long time to respond, and it is very challenging for the management team here to get them to respond. And I know certain measures have been taken this year to
We are assessing
quick
fees,
response.
And they're working.
Good.
and they're working, but still some outstanding.
And then note 15 at the bottom, this was the restatement. So the beginning balance last year that we reported was 23.6 million, and then we brought in almost $1 million through the receivable and revenue to begin the year at 24.6 million. That's all I plan on covering in financial report associated with the IDA. If anyone has any other questions associated with the main financial report or anything else. Right. Yeah.
Station the map. Goes to the full board. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 5, review, discussion, recommendation of,
We need to go through the LDC.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. So we can just, we've done the IDA, we can have you go right into the LDC now.
Perfect.
That's okay. All set, yep, all set.
So I'm working on the executive summary for the local development corp, but it's exactly the same, except it says LDC on it. So I'm on the second page of the executive summary. So we are also issuing our modified opinion on the local development corporation's financial statements. So that's also a plain opinion. We perform the audit under government auditing standards for the LDC as well. Also, on modified opinion, no control deficiencies or material weaknesses to note within that letter. Because the LDC expends over $750,000 in federal awards, we perform a single audit and issue a report on internal control for each major federal program with accordance with uniform guidance. That's also an unmodified opinion. We had no issues associated with the federal program we tested, which was the state and local fiscal recovery funds. Those are the funds that are passed through the county to local development corp, and that was 8.1 million of the 8.7 million that we tested. And then the next page, because this won't fit on previous one, a management comment letter that has no comments. IDA. Similar to the IDA, we're required to communicate certain things to those charged with governance at the conclusion of the audit, and we also have no comments of concern regarding this audit either. Also, this entity adopted GASB 96 as well, and that had no effect on the local development board. And I will turn this one over to Rita.
So on page 5, again, we have the pie charts for the revenue. They look very similar. most of the revenue is the governmental grant, which is mainly the ARPA or the state and local fiscal recovery funds. Page 6 takes a look at the expenses. Again, there's not much change in the expenses from year to year. There's some changes in the administrative in general, but the majority of it is the grant expense. So if we take a look at page 7, which is your assets and liabilities over 5 years. So the total assets at the top of the page, they decreased $3.9 million or roughly 60%. And that's really due to the spending down of the state and local fiscal recovery funds that you received from the county. In 2022, that was sitting there. The bottom, the total liabilities decreased about 4 million. That's again due to the spending down in recognition of the COVID funds during the year. Page 8 takes a look at the net position. Your total net position increased about $25,000. It's really due to the result of operations and everything during the year. Page 9 takes a look at the revenue. So your total revenues increased about $2.5 million or 39%. And that's again due to the recognition of those ARPA monies during the year for the governmental grants. On page 10, you take a look at the expenses. Your expenses increased again $2.5 million as a result of the state and local fiscal recovery monies being spent during the year. And then just on page 11, same as the IDA, the corporation adopted 96 and GASB statement 101 is effective for the year ending December 2024. Any questions on the LBC numbers?
So I was gonna jump into a couple of disclosures for the local development board. And I'm going off to page 10 of the financial report. And direct your attention to note 5.
I'm sorry, Evan, what page?
On page 10.
10,
5.
thank you.
Yep. So this details the related party transactions between the IDA and the local development corp. So the IDA doesn't have any payroll and the local development corp has no payroll. And the IDA spends time on behalf of this entity, so recognizes in-kind revenue and expense based on time and effort provided to us, so the $121,000 this year. And then the final paragraph is the activity associated with state and local fiscal recovery fund. So we received 10.6 million, earned and expended 8.7 million, and ended the year with 1.8 million left in unearned revenue. And then I was going to go to page 17, which is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. So this details the federal funds that flow through the entity. 8.1 million was for the coronavirus state and fiscal recovery fund, and then 650,000 associated with the community development block grants. So those are the two that are passed through the county, totaling 8.7 million and so on. And the final page is the schedule of findings and question costs. This is basically a snapshot of the audit results, a lot like our executive summary. It documents on modified findings and no findings associated with the audit. Details the program that we tested way at the bottom, and then has no findings associated with financial statements or the single audit.
Why is this considered a no risk or not a low risk?
So an entity can be low risk when they submit 2 years in succession of single audits. So this is year 2 of single audits, and next year you will be considered low risk.
But you have to be submitted timely as well.
Yeah, last year wasn't.
So next,
The unique identifying number that took the state and that.
There was a delay in getting our.
Provide to you guys.
Yep, not by us.
Well, we're gonna test the Stanley for Fiscal Recovery Fund next year. Doesn't matter. It affects how much us as auditors need to test. So if you're not low risk, we are required to test 40% of your total federal awards. Whereas if you're low risk, we are only required to test 20%. You have just one massive program, so we're gonna pick that anyway. So overall, the audits went very well. We really appreciate all the efforts of Gina, Natalie, and Stacy. While we're out here, we asked for a ton of things, and we were able to present 2 unmodified opinions, which is great. And
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Oh. So I guess we should, look for a motion to move this to the board for recommendation to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Vincent. Motion carried. Now, number 5, review, discussion, recommendation of the readoption of the agency's investment and deposit policy, internal controls and financial accountability policy, the purchasing policy, the property acquisition guidelines, and the property disposition guidelines with no changes. I think that's Natalie on it. Please.
Thank you, Dan. This is an annual requirement of the authority's budget office, that the agency review its financial policies every year. Either modify those policies or recommend that they be reapproved for the following year as is. The staff reviewed the mentioned policies and recommend that they be accepted with no changes.
Look for a motion to, a recommendation move to the full board. Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Number 6, review, discussion, recommendation authorizing the executive director to request American Rescue Plan funds in the amount of $500,000 from Broome County for the purpose of supporting small business development to advance the interest of the citizens of Broome County. Stacey,
Thank
please.
you, Chairman. This is a nice new partnership. I should say continued partnership with Broome County. As you know, one of our strategic objectives of the organization is to continue to strengthen our capacity to provide funding into the community, given the significant amount of restrictions on our own funds. We are thrilled again to introduce to the board a grant program in partnership with Broome County. My thanks to County Executive Jason Garner, Chairman Dan Reynolds, and members of the legislature for continuing to put these opportunities and their trust in us to be good stewards of the funding. So this proposes using $500,000 of funding from Broome County for the creation. We're still working on some of the guidelines on the name of this right now. We're thinking of something called the Rural Development Grant Fund. However, it would be countywide. The purpose of this would be to provide one-time grants for up to $50,000 to help small businesses with operational and other eligible costs. The RDGF, as we're potentially calling it now, the grant will prioritize businesses that are in outside of our urban core communities, although they would not be precluded from applying, but it would give preference to communities outside of the main urban core. It will also prioritize businesses that employ low to moderate persons, minority and women-owned business enterprises, veteran-owned businesses, and businesses located within low-income rural communities. Our goal would be to work with small businesses in Broome County with 25 or fewer employees. We are looking at uses that would include grants to support real estate improvements, purchases of machinery and equipment that allow their business to retain employment or grow employment in our community. We're still looking at other potential uses of grant funds. So once we're just finalizing this with the county. Once we have the final set of guidelines, we'll get those out to the board. I would say they're near completion. The purpose of today, however, is that the board would need to accept the funds so that we can finalize the grant program guidelines.
No, the county already voted on this, right?
It did, yes. You should have a copy of the resolution in your packet.
Thank you, Stacy. Seeing no other questions. We'll look for a motion for a recommendation for approval to the full board.
I'd like to move it.
Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I want to make a
Oh,
note,
sorry.
I just want to make a note, for the record that this is a joint meeting, audit and finance of both the IDA and the LDC. For the purposes of the audit, it's also for the purposes of this grant program would be run through the LDC. So this will come on the LDC's agenda, not the IDA's.
Thank you. Seeing no old business, there is a motion for adjournment is in order. Carried. We are adjourned.
All right, couple minutes to spare.
I'd like to call to order this meeting.
It is a hot. We are live on Facebook.
Thank you.
All right.
I need a gavel. I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Broome County Industrial Development Agency of March 20th, 2024. Looking for a motion to approve the minutes of our February 21st, 2024 board meeting. I have a motion, Dan.
Second.
Peter is second. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Come to the part of our agenda where we have our public comment session. Anybody wishing to speak on any matter concerning the Broome County Industrial Development Agency, please state your name and address for the record, and please limit your comments to 5 minutes.
Hi, everybody. John. I live in Binghamton, John Solette. Concern, over the YWCA project. That's a very complicated deal and, hybrid deal involving a nonprofit and a private entity. If you look at what describes the deal, it's very open-ended. It has all the earmarks of a potential disaster. In looking over the 990 forms of the Binghamton Broome YWCA, I see no salary listed as required for the executive director. The board members are listed. Carol Pelton puts in 40 hours a week, but in the slot where her salary is supposed to go, it's blank. There's another part of the tax form that you could insert executive pay. It's not in there. So the question for you board members is, do you have a copy of their 990s? And do you know what Carol Coppin's salary is? If you don't have a copy of the 990s, I suggest you forestall this vote until you do, because that is what you want to see when you are involved with any nonprofit agency. This problem in incomplete tax returns was endemic a few years ago. It's getting better now, but I'm finding more and more of these. And this is one that I found, so you should seek clarification on that. I see the rat and the rat son are up. The labor policy here, I remarked upon it. And it's good to see the solidarity between all the unions. This isn't one disgruntled union boss. It's not one disgruntled labor organization, but rather the whole panoply of organized labor in this town is coming together and saying something stinks at the IDA. And it's a shameful, disgraceful moment that it had to come to this. And something should be done on it pronto. I've always questioned the labor policies as it relates to solidarity, and our local governments are union shops, police, fire, and all that. Public employees are unionized. But to the guys that actually do the work and erect all these projects that the politicians take credit for, seem to be getting short shrift. The other thing that I'd like to remark upon. Can I have a, okay, well, sure. I don't want to, so, they're coming in now. So that's a shame. And, as far as the, I looked over, you're paying $30,000 to the NBT Bank, I believe. You know, you can buy treasuries direct. I mean, for what they're very nice people. I'm not saying that the NBT Bank, who's ever doing these presentations are nice. I'm not saying that the presentations aren't detailed, but just to, buy and sell treasury securities on a laddered basis, $30,000 is a rather high fee, for something that could be done in-house. Any dumbbell can do it, including me, and go to the Treasury website and buy Treasury securities. So it's it's a lot of bang for the buck. I'm very concerned about the real estate situation in this town as it relates to overbuilding. Nobody knows what the housing shortage is. We hear about young professionals moving downtown, but at the same time now, with this YWCA, a whole block is going to be dedicated to what really are social service cases. I'm concerned about the methadone clinic that Helios Health. There's another nonprofit salary. You want to know what the head guy at Helios Health makes? How about $450,000? So you see, the nonprofit, there is profit there, and the profit goes to the salaries of these organizations. But that's a methadone clinic. That's trouble waiting to happen, and you're behind it all the way. Downtown is never going to come back because you've got too many people with too many scams going on. So these scams have got to be addressed, and you've got to find out what the salary is on Carol Copen, because to not have that information is totally irresponsible. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Would anybody else like to speak at this public comment session?
I'll just say a few words. I've been asked to just observe today, but along with John and everybody else, our FOIL requests are all coming back, and it's scary.
Bob, can you just state your name?
Bob Utter from Airport Road, Town of Maine, Town of Union, here against the corporate park. We've received a lot of our FOIL requests back, and it's very discouraging that what's going on here. The conspiracy between the IDA, Town of Union board members, fulfilling obligations to get your $500,000 worth of grant money, and not being transparent and telling the residents of what's going on. You guys applied for the lead on seeker. Town of Maine had a meeting last night. They will fight for the lead on seeker. They sent a 164-page dossier in, listing all the discrepancies that this IDA board has processed. I guess you would say processed doing this project. Just want to remind everybody here, you all took an obligation to serve the residents of Broome County, the interest of the residents. It seems as though there's a lot of money going through this building that isn't properly or procedurally applied for. Your seeker lead agency letter that went out was incomplete. It did not list all the agencies that should have been listed. So I don't even know how your paperwork gets accepted, other than you have the ability to bully whoever you want. And I'm using the word bully because some of your board members have made comments in your public meetings that will just go over we'll go over their heads. Hey, if this is a Hochul project, that's great, okay? But you're not presenting it as a Hochul project. You're proposing a fairy tale idea of what's going to be great for the Binghamton area, possibly in the next 40 years, and destroy the values and the homes of 5 people you want to take their property by eminent domain. I just want to remind you, there's still going to be a fight. The people, I'm getting more and more people into it. I am getting more responses, and I'm getting more of my FOIL requests back. It's not going to be pretty if you want to continue to do things the wrong way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Utter. Would anybody else like to speak at this public comment session? We're gonna call this public comment session to a close. Executive Director's Report. Update, Stacy?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. A few items for the board. We have printed out and provided in your folders. We just received from Empire State Development our award letter for roughly $11,329,042. This was our first of two FAST program, that is the state's Shovel Ready Grant Award program. This award was for a specific track. Our first grant was for a pre-development grant for the potential new tech park. That was for $500,000, which we have received. This was a second. This was a different track. This was for actual infrastructure development for 600 Main Street. We think of that as the former BAE site in the town of Union. We did receive all of the funding that we requested for this project. So we are thrilled that the state supported this project for us. The next steps are essentially, now that we have our award letter, we can essentially begin the work. So we will be regrouping initially with the project management consultant on building out the team to take a look at building the shovel-ready pad for this site. Some of the things we have to do are complete a DEC fill plan, because we do need to elevate it out of the floodplain. We want to look at a few of the concepts we'll put back in front of the board. One of the concepts was for a multi-use business park that could encompass a variety of much needed light flex industrial and or commercial buildings. So more to come on this. We're just getting the team back together. We have also, as you can imagine, with an $11 million award, have a lot of inquiries on this site. I may come back to the board shortly and sooner rather than later, and recommend we potentially issue an RFP for a potential development partner or partners on this property. And as well, I will be at the IAMC, that's the Industrial Asset Management Council's Spring Forum in Greenville, South Carolina in April. And I have a few one-on-one meetings with national site selectors, and will provide information. I will note on this site, which especially appealing for this site and a private operating company, is because it is in a federally designated clean energy community. It also has available for a private sector, not a public sector applicant, very high value grant funding through the Department of Energy. So certainly we think the opportunities to get this site up and ready are much better now with this award. We also kicked off our Southern Tier Clean Tech Corridor Initiative with Newmark yesterday. We had our kickoff meeting with Newmark Global Strategies. If just a quick reminder, this is an 8-county, mostly IDA funded. We also need support from NYSEG and Empire State Development. It will be approximately a 6-month review. One of the things we'll be looking at throughout the Southern Tier region, we're using the definition of the Southern Tier Economic Development Council, Southern Tier. We'll be looking at including key priority sites in each county that will have a readiness assessment provided for us by the Newmark site selection team. We'll be discussing out in further west in Steuben County, there's a high percentage of renewable generation. We'll be talking about is there an opportunity to leverage that energy and make that something that could become available for use for regional companies? How do we support the growth of existing manufacturers in the region? And again, one of the end products would be a portfolio of sites region-wide that we can use to bring new investment to the community. So we're excited to get that going. I expect to bring the Newmark team in to meet with the board at some point during this process. The last two more things, we were asked and we were thrilled. We are part of a Tech Hub application that was submitted by Binghamton University. We were asked to lead a 14-county initiative. The Tech Hub is a 14-county initiative. And we have made an ask for $4 million to provide funding across this 14-county region to do master site and corridor strategies. So similar to what we are doing with Newmark, but we can expand that effort and serve as the lead in that process. So hopefully that will be funded and will be a nice effort for us to lead. And then lastly, April 18th, we are the host of the New York State Economic Development Council's IDA Academy. So we expect to have over 100 IDA and economic development professionals in the region for a day of professional development. So we're thrilled to be the host community this year.
Questions for Stacy before we go to financial reports? Stacy, a couple of questions. We're meeting with the county union soon relative. to
Yes,
the-
I'm related to 600 Main Street. Yes, I'm hoping to get on their April calendar. So I just have to confirm dates and times.
Work session.
Work session to just update them on, it's been some time since they've seen the initial, 600, I gotta stop calling it the BAE site, the 600 Main Street feasibility study. So it's been some time, so I want to sit down with the town members and refresh them on some of the concepts we had come up with and then next steps in the process.
Second question, in the letter, it says when your application has been finalized, what does that mean? Almost complete they awarded you money.
This
so
is
what-
the award letter, so, I'm not sure what, I will check with. I will check with Omar, but this is the award letter. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's just lingo that they use, but.
Some lawyer.
Okay. Yeah, the 14 counties,
Yes.
what area does that?
So the Tech Hub region actually extends as far west as Jamestown, and then it goes east and north, and east includes Otsego, Cortland, a few other counties in that region. It includes our 8 REDC, our regional council counties, and then goes further. So Cattaraugus, Allegheny.
Okay, so you're going further west than some north?
And some north. So, and we would serve essentially as the lead on this project management, but it would be an opportunity for us to retain some administrative fee, but also serve as the lead EDO for the Tech Hub in this initiative.
Okay.
Any other questions? You had a chance to review the financial reports through February 29th. Are there any questions on those? Onward to the loan activity reports. Any questions on those? The loan funds availability for Steve as well as the BDF, it seems like, have there been any inquiries recently?
I actually, yes, recently, yes. I've had 3, so I'll have some meetings set up next week. So hopefully we can get some of that money out the door.
Okay.
And we were finding the same thing with the regional loan committee that we're part of. There was sort of a lull for a good part of a year.
Yeah.
It's
3
good
months
to
of-
see some people are confident in financing activity. So all of a sudden we've had inquiries come.
And maybe COVID money kind of dried up somewhat.
Mhm.
Thank you. On to new business, resolution approving the 2023 audit of the Boone County Industrial Development Agency conducted by Ansero and Company, CPAs LLP. Stacy or Dan? I'll give it to Dan. How's that sound?
Give it to Dan.
Yeah,
Talk to
if it
him.
comes forward from committee for a motion to approve it.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thanks, Mike. Any discussion or questions for our auditors, for anybody who wasn't here during their presentation? Let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Item number 7, resolution approving the readoption of the agency's investment and deposit policy, internal controls and financial accountability policy, the purchasing policy, the property acquisition guidelines, and the property disposition guidelines with no changes. Dan.
This also comes forward from committee. There's a motion to approve.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second? Thanks, Mike. Any discussion or questions for Natalie? Let's have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Item number 8, resolution authorizing the executive director on behalf of the agency to renew the agency's contract with Hugh for digital account services from March 1st, 2024 to February 28th, 2027. This is governance, correct?
It is.
Jim,
Comes forward from the governance committee with a recommendation for approval.
thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Any discussion or questions for Stacy as it relates to this item? Let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Carried. Number 9, resolution authorizing the executive director on behalf of the agency to renew the agency's contract with Rieger Marketing Communications for digital account services from March 1st, 2024 to February 28th, 2027. Jim?
This also comes forward from governance with a recommendation for approval.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second? Dan, thank you. Any discussion or questions for Stacy on this particular contract? Let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Moving on to the very long worded resolutions. Joe, you told me once I had to read all of this on the, right? All right. Item number 10, resolution authorizing a leaseback transaction to facilitate the demolition, redevelopment, renovation, development, and equipping of the YWCA Lyle Carroll Intergenerational Campus, including the Young Wonders Child Care Center with 68 apartments for low-income multifamily and supportive housing to include 2 elevators, 1 in the apartment building and 1 in the child care center, community rooms, a laundry room, a reception area, a lobby, a conference room, a mail room, staff offices, 3 outdoor playgrounds, and a terrace garden to be located at 22 Lyle Avenue, 24 Lyle Avenue, 34 Lyle Avenue, and 45 Carroll Street, all in the city of Binghamton, Broome County, New York. Appointing the Young Women's Christian Association of Binghamton and Broome County, New York, the company, agent of the agency for the purpose of developing, redeveloping, renovating. Why do you have to say this stuff over and over?
I agree.
And equipping the project and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain documents with respect thereto, including a payment in lieu of tax agreement, a sales and use tax exemption agreement in an amount not to exceed $1,865,202, a mortgage tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $274,500, and a real property tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $993,935. Jim.
You read it better than I did. This was considered by governance committee. We were unable to have a quorum and vote because one of the members needed to abstain.
Got it. So is there a motion on this item?
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Dan. Discussion, questions for Stacy specific to the project?
I'll just clarify, I've abstained. They list M&T Bank as their bank. While they've not asked us for financing on this project, there's a possibility for that, so I abstain.
Got it. I too will abstain, although the project was not awarded funding in this most recent round. One of our companies is destined to be the management company for this project, so I too will abstain. Any discussions or questions for Stacy? Let's have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And no two abstentions. Carried. Item number 11, resolution authorizing a leaseback transaction to facilitate the rehabilitation, preservation, and equipping of 22 3-story brick garden style apartment buildings located at 380 Shenango Street and 13 Kern Street in the city of Binghamton, Broome County, New York, to be used as a new affordable housing complex in the city of Binghamton, Broome County, New York, to include 66 1-bedroom apartments, 169 2-bedroom apartments, 21 3-bedroom apartments, and 296 parking spaces. Appointing VE Binghamton LP, the company, agent of the agency for the purpose of rehabilitating, preserving, and equipping the project, and authorizing the execution and delivery of certain documents with respect thereto, including a payment in lieu of tax agreement deviating from the agency's uniform tax exemption policy, a sales and use tax exemption agreement in an amount not to exceed $3,156,394, a mortgage tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $86,800, and a real property tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $10,233,658. Jim.
This comes forward from governments with a recommendation for approval.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Any discussion or questions for Stacy? Let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carried. Item number 12, resolution accepting an application from Marchuska Productions LLC, authorizing in New York State and local sales and use tax exemption in an amount not to exceed $18,376 for a term not to exceed 12 months, consistent with the policies of the agency in connection with the expansion, renovation, and equipping of vacant space at 49 Court Street in the city of Binghamton, county of Broome, and state of New York. Jim?
This was considered by governance and is recommended for approval by the full board.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second? Thanks, Mike. Any discussion or questions for Stacy? Let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstention.
Thanks, Joe. Motion carried. Is there a need to go into executive session?
I don't have any.
Thank you. Moving onward, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion.
Thanks, Dan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Joe. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Yeah, your office is neat.
I'd like to call to order this meeting of the Broome County Local Development Corporation of March 20th, 2024. Looking for approval of the minutes of our February 21st, 24 board meeting. Is there a motion? Thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Come to the part of our agenda where we have a public comment session. Anybody wishing to speak on any matter concerning the Local Development Corporation, please state your name and address for the record.
John Solak, I'm in Binghamton, taking your time up. The 3 martini lunch is a relic of the past, so you'll have to limit it to 1 martini this afternoon. You know, I've those days are long gone, isn't it? It's terrible. That's when this country was productive, ironically. Between that and cigarettes, you know, what do you want from me? What I'm distressed about is nonprofits, 501c3s, using their influence during political campaigns. Now, I've suggested, since you've got $500,000 coming in, I suggest a moratorium on all announcements from September 1st through election day. Because what I see happening here with this $500,000 slush fund is I see it going strategically into legislative districts, county legislative districts, announcements being made, pictures being taken for door knocker, advertising. That's what I see happening. And it's happened at the land bank. Unfortunately, last year, there was a big announcement 2 weeks before an election. And I'm kind of sick of it. You know, I've caught people red-handed. I've caught nonprofit agencies doing political commercials at their facilities for state legislative candidates. I call them up and I ask them, please, would you take it off? You know, then you call the candidates and you can't do that. So what's going to happen here, I'm going to predict it. So I don't think it's asking too much for both the IDA and the Binghamton Local Development Corporation to say, hey, as of September 1st to the election, we're not making any announcements, no matter what it is, during that election cycle. Because it's too easy for those that are close to the agency and close to politics to manipulate. So that's an important point. I don't know, you know, this is another odd thing. There's been so much ARPA money and so much money flowing through that apparently they're all out of ideas and they subcontracted it out to you. I mean, it's unbelievable. But I will say this, if you look at totally the amount of money that's been spent here and the bang for it, the bang for the buck, that it hasn't moved the needle whatsoever. move the needle for certain people. But I would say this, that $500,000 gifts to businesses is very, very well, let's put it this way, the potential for abuse is great than probably anything that the Binghamton Local Development Corporation has ever done. I'm signing off now.
Thank you, John. Would anybody else like to speak at this public comment session? We'll call this session to a close. New business. Item number 4, resolution approving the 2023 audit of the Broome County Local Development Corporation conducted by Insero and Company CPAs LLP. Dan.
Thank you, John. This resolution comes forward from committee as a motion to approve.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second? Thank you, Joe. Any discussion or questions for Stacy or our auditors who happen to be here? With that in mind, let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nobody can abstain. Resolution approving the re-adoption of the Broome County Local Development Corporation's investment and deposit policy, internal controls and financial accountability policy, the purchasing policy, the property acquisition guidelines, and the property disposition guidelines with no changes. Dan.
Yes, thank you. This also comes forward from committee as a motion to approve.
Thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Peter. Any discussion or questions of Natalie specific to this? Let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Resolution authorizing the executive director to request American Rescue Plan funds in the amount of $500,000 from Broome County for the purpose of supporting small business development to advance the interests of the citizens of Broome County. Finance, yes, or governance?
Finance.
Finance.
Finance,
It's been a
we did
long
it.
day, so yes, also comes forward.
Thank you, Dan. I should have known that. I was here. Is there a second? Thank you, Joe. Any discussion or questions for Stacy? I know this is the technical language is being worked out at the county level, and we're gonna follow whatever the language it is after some discussion, I'm sure.
Yep.
Let's have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Any old business? Okay, any new business or anything we've missed? All right, there's a request to go to executive session by one of our board members. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
I can't second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll go into executive session, and motion was by Dan Gates.
Some vested sales tax,
We're back into regular session. Is there any other business to cover? Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Thanks, Dan. Second, Dan?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
Peter, you know what happened?
Yes, Dan.
It is what happened.